Good morning. Good morning, Kris. Good morning, Erasmo. How are you doing? Sorry to have you get up this early. I know. I'm so sorry. Well, there is a beautiful, beautiful day. We have a week of weather, hot weather. Today they're saying it's going to be a little bit more cooler than yesterday, but we have a beautiful state, Washington State. And I like to say Washington State because a lot of people, when they hear Washington, they think is Washington, D.C. So we here in Tacoma, Washington, beautiful, beautiful state. I love this state. I love the rain. I love all the combinations of the green that we get here in the state. And we are talking, my name is Yasmin Ford, host of the show Siembra. Mi nombre es Yasmin Ford, soy anfitriona de el show Siembra. Y this morning we're gonna have, I wanted to say controversial, but it shouldn't be. So, but I want to do some, we have a show about gender and the transgender and the LGBT community. But I wanted to do some announcements first. I wanted to talk about voting. Washington State is one of the states that there's voting every year. We vote every year. So this Tuesday, just go out and vote, because one of the things that people neglect is voting locally. And I think it's even more important than voting nationally, because it affects everything that we do locally. That means our taxes, our schools, healthcare, that means the environment, that means all these different things. Electricity. I mean, I was thinking this morning about Texas and what's going on with the power thing in Texas, Michigan, Flint, the water. All of these things that we vote, when we vote locally, affects all these basic lifestyles, that services and stuff that we need for everyday living. So just go out and vote. The people that can vote, vote. La gente que puede votar, que vaya a votar. Aquí en el estado de Washington, todos los años hay una elección. Y es bien importante. Yo creo que aún más importante que voten localmente. ¿Por qué? Porque afecta todo. Lo que ustedes votan afecta nuestros taxes de propiedades, nuestros taxes, lo que es la salud, lo que es el medio ambiente, lo que es la escuela, lo que es todo lo que requiere servicios de diario vivir, como el agua, como la electricidad, todo eso. Así que por favor vayan el martes y voten, participen los que puedan. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit more about.
Yasmin?
Yes?
I also wanted to mention about voting. I just heard yesterday that only 13% of Pierce County voters have voted so far. So if you are in Pierce County, you want to get those ballots in the mail today. Well, not today, tomorrow, or drop them in a drop box. No later than Tuesday by 8 o'clock, or they will not be counted.
Yeah, by 8 o'clock.
Yes.
Las 8 es que cierra todas las urnas de los votos, así que por favor asegúrense a votar. I wanted to talk a little bit about Joe Manchin. He did the right thing. He came to his senses. So we gotta just push for Christian cinema now to do something and make sure we start moving this process that is the democratic process in this country. So hopefully she gets on board. And like I said, voting is very important because it does affect our everyday living. Also, I wanted to say a shout out to birthday people. I have my brother that I just spoke to him. His birthday is today. My niece, her birthday is today. Stephanie, feliz cumpleaños. Happy birthday. Richard, feliz cumpleaños. I also have my friend Bruce. Happy birthday to you guys. And have a blessed and a very great day. Also, so now we're gonna go. I'm gonna introduce my guests. I'm gonna start with Erasmo. Erasmo, he works with me and he is part of this community. But I wanted to start first with just tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself, and then I will introduce Kris.
Well, my name is Erasmo, and I was born in Hood River, Oregon. It's about an hour east of Portland, and I grew up there to two immigrant parents from Mexico. And when I was 18, I moved to Portland, and I went to college there at Portland State University. I earned my bachelor's degree in pre-law. I had initially thought I wanted to go to law school, but then I decided that I was better suited for social services or social work type jobs, and so I wanted to make an impact on people and kind of just work on the front lines in the social services field. And so I decided to do my master's in educational leadership and policy. And after I finished my master's, I moved abroad to Spain, where I worked for the Spain Ministry of Education for a couple of years, and then I moved back to Oregon in 2016, and then shortly thereafter I found a job in the Renton, Seattle area in social services, working with foster children, and that's what I do today as well. I work with refugee minors and helping find housing for them. That's community-based foster care. And so I also serve as the Pierce County Commissioner of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. So I just started doing this about 2 months ago, and we're still trying to figure out our meeting schedule and everything. And so, yeah, I've just been more involved lately in local government. And yeah, I think it's important for people to be involved, and for us LGBTQI plus people to have a seat at the table where decisions are being made. And so that's kind of what inspired and motivated me to join local government. But also I have aspirations for something higher as well in the future, serving as a state senator or as a representative. And so I'm making moves to accomplish that in the future. I'm working with some local organizations that develop local leaders to build power and a base to then eventually run for elected office. And so yeah, I think it's important. I think if anything, the only good thing about Donald Trump's presidency was that he motivated a lot of people to get involved. I think a lot of us were completely clueless about government and how it worked until he was elected, and then we started doing more research. A lot of millennials became more involved, and so I think that's probably one of the only good things that came out of that presidency was people being more aware of decisions in government that affect their lives.
Thank you, E.
Thank you.
Yes, and I was thinking what you were saying. I was listening to NPR yesterday. I like to listen to NPR, and there was a segment that was talking about voting for the school budget, and they just like 30 people show up, and they cut down the budget. I don't want to say the state because I don't remember exactly. It was from $1.7 million. It went to $800,000, and the people were just outraged. The people that they went to the meeting, they never go to the meeting. They had to, now they were going to pay for school for their kids. They would have to pay out of pocket, and that incentivized the community. They went back and vote, and they actually went back and got their budget that they needed. So it's very important. They realize that we have to be involved, that we have to be connected to make sure we are involved in our community. That's where we live. So I wanted to introduce Kris because I know your bio, your profile is a little bit longer. So tell us a little bit about yourself. One of the things, I don't know if I can mention the church. I know Pastor Denson Gernerser. I don't know if you went to Church for All Nations.
I did go to CFAN for a number of years, and I worked there for a little while.
Yes, and I did too. So we was connected by the church. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your bio, and how do you got from church to here? It's amazing. But go ahead.
Well, I've been a writer since I was like a teenager. I was first published when I was like 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been, so my career, I'm a freelance writer, and I make most of my money right now writing for websites, flyers, brochures, letters, for business owners and stuff. But I'm also an author, and I have 16 books, one of which is on the topic of transgender.
Mm-hmm.
Because from a very young age, I knew I was a boy. And until I, began the process of at age 9 of finding out, that my body was preparing itself for womanhood. I mean, it never even crossed my mind that wasn't even a possibility for me. And I just had this horrendous identity crisis as soon as, my menstrual period showed up and my bosom started, developing. I was like, now remember, this is 60 years ago. This is before the word transgender was even a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was the only one who was going through this. I thought I was very, very much alone. And so I kept it quiet. I just kept it quiet and let everybody call me whoever they wanted to call me, but I never dated. I never did anything because I'm not apparently who I'm supposed to be. And I'm not interested in being they want me to be. I'm not that person. So anyhow, throughout my life, it's not that beyond that identity crisis, I don't focus a whole lot on myself. I just focused on other things. I'm an animal lover. I'm an environmentalist. I'm a nature person. I'm a human rights and civil rights advocate. So I just kind of went external on myself. I said, what's happening to me is not that important. What is important is all these things happening to everybody. And I was very much involved with the world more than with myself.
Mm-hmm.
But then about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe longer, George Takei from Star Trek came out as gay. And I have a little bit of a celebrity in the Star Trek world too, because I was a caregiver. Well, first of all, DeForest Kelley launched my writing career when I was 18. And later on in life, I became his personal assistant and caregiver at the end of his life. And so I wrote a book about that association, how I went from being a fan on the outermost reaches of fandom to being at his bedside when he passed away. And so I have this little tiny bit of, what we'll call Star Trek celebrity. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, now is the time to do it. I need to let people know, because kids are killing themselves because they're transgender or gay or bi or whatever they are. They think they're the only ones in the world because they feel a sense of shame about it, and they don't want to confess it to anybody. They just think, I'm just not, in quotes, who I'm supposed to be. And yes, you are who you are supposed to be. And so I wrote a book called Womb Man, How I Survived Growing Up in a Booby-Trapped World. And over the last several years, I have had my chest masculinized, and I've really embraced who I truly am. I thought it was going to be a horrendous thing. I thought I was going to lose friends left and right. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I was willing to take that chance to say, this is who I am. If you don't like it, that's okay, but this is who I am. I didn't lose a single friend. I think maybe because I started with the book and I said, this is who I am and this is how this happened. And they read the book, and there was all kind of, I wish I had known, I would have supported you sooner, this. Other people said, oh my gosh, I always knew there was something about you. I could not put my finger on it. As soon as you said you were a guy, I went, bingo, you are a guy. People who had known me since I was 4. So it was, for me, my coming out was extremely positive, because I no longer feel any sense of shame, guilt, or anything. It's just like, I am, they say God doesn't make mistakes. I am who God made me to be. And maybe the lesson is for others, not for me. You don't have to fit in. You don't have to be like everybody else. In fact, diversity, as a Star Trek fan, my big thing is infinite diversity and infinite combinations. Because we are all one global, we should be one global community, loving each other, supporting each other, befriending each other. It's celebrating, not tolerating, celebrating each other. And so, yeah.
And one of the things I was thinking yesterday, I was thinking about this, that, you know, since humankind, since we've been here on earth as human, transgender and LGBT community existed.
Have always existed.
Always, from the time human was here, that existed. And I was thinking the problem here was that there wasn't a space where you was allowed to be openly. And now this space is there for, you know, and I have a lot of people they act like, and that's why I start the show saying it shouldn't be controversial. It shouldn't be, because this community has been here forever.
Yeah,
you know, we was just not allowed. There was not there was not allowed to have that space where you could truly be. You know, and as human beings, we just want to be. When I don't like to use that word allow, because
Right.
I shouldn't allow. I should be asking you permission for you to be who you are. You know,
Here's
you are who you are, and that's it. You know.
Here's another thing too: is before the colonizers came to the United States and started bringing Christianity and stuff into it, Christianity is wonderful when it's wonderful, and it can be really horrendous when it's bad. You've heard about the Indian, you know, the
Yes.
stuff that happened to the people who already lived in this land.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are two spirit people. Before Christianity came, in many of the Native American communities, there was a being or beings called two spirit, which meant they had equal amounts of both male and female. In fact, that's kind of the perfect being, because you understand each other so well. They were considered highly developed, you know, a shaman, really, very intelligent. They were the people looked up to help them, you know, navigate through life. And so it was just when they started, the word homosexual, for example, was never coined as what they say it supposedly says in the Bible now, until like, I think it was 1848, they decided that word meant homosexual, which it doesn't, you know. So we've had a real issue with puritanical ideas coming in and saying, this is right, this is wrong. Species-wide, not just humans, but species-wide, 10% of the animal population is gay. It's part of nature. In nature, the beings who are gay are often caretakers of the little creatures running around that they did not create. You know, aunties and uncles are often caregivers and raisers of their nieces and nephews. So there is a place for everyone. I don't think God ever made a mistake. I just think the lesson is for those who think a mistake has been made, or that we have decided to be who we are. I mean, I struggle with, I thought, why can't I be happy? Why can't I be happy as a girl? Because I'm not a girl.
But
You know?
one of the things that I was thinking is that God created. Did you look at nature, like you were saying?
Right.
It is, everything is connected, and also everything is mirror into. So everything that we see that is different and diverse and uniquely their own. And that's, is you start looking at the world like that, I think then you can see, okay, you know, there's nothing, there's not black and white. I used to be, when I was in church, I used to be go from black to white. And as I had start growing, I start seeing that there is spectrums of colors and grays and stuff, and you may never have the answer, why is this the way it is? And it's okay, it should be okay, you know.
I think a lot of the thing happens is because the people who don't understand or agree or whatever try to villainize the people who are not like them. and they start saying, well, this is going to happen, all the kids are going to turn transgender or gay. I got news. If you want to talk about grooming, our entire lives we were groomed to be, I was groomed to be a girl. Erasmo was groomed to be heterosexual. It didn't happen. It's not like it's going to happen. It happens individually to each of us because we are who we are.
Yes.
Right.
And you can't groom. Now you can entrap a young being who doesn't know yet any of the normal protocols. You can absolutely do that. You can mess them up really good. But most people who are trans or gay or lesbian, they're not interested in innocent young beings. They're interested in finding a connection to another person that they want to love and cherish and hold hands with and walk in the park with and maybe raise children with and live with and hopefully die with. You just want, when you consider, I think so many people, this society is so focused on sexuality. I mean, our commercials are, erectile dysfunction, or get closer to the person you love, this, that, and the other, but it's always heterosexual, usually. And so we seem to be hyper focused on sexuality as opposed to relationships. And relationships are what we're talking about here. We're not talking really about sexuality. We're talking about relationships. And the people you want to hang with and love and cherish and honor and support. And so I think if we would focus more on that, on the loving and giving, people would find out there is nothing to be afraid of. Nobody's out to get you. We're out to find our soulmates, if you want to call them soulmates, and to cherish and love them and support them and protect them and defend them.
Right. And then I've seen recently there's a big push in some conservative red states to ban like LGBT books and history. I mean, it's kind of like banning sex ed. It's not going to stop kids from having sex just because they're not learning about it. So same with LGBT history and culture. If kids are gay, they're going to go out and be gay, right? Like nothing's going to change them, so people are born that way. And so just because you're trying to censor certain things doesn't mean that kids are going to engage in certain activities, right? So
the only thing it will do is will help kids realize I'm not alone, because I felt so alone early on. I knew for some reason what I was feeling was, in quotes, wrong. I mean, it wasn't wrong, but in society, it felt, this isn't, in quotes, normal.
And one of the things I was thinking is that when people talk about the gay community and transgender, it's so sexualized.
It is.
And for me being a woman, Afro-Latina woman, I experienced the same thing, to be sexualized. We are so sexualized that you think that the only thing you're thinking is about sex. When you think about this gender, you think about this culture, that we are more than sex. God make us so complex that we more than that. And for human beings, we just longing to be connected and to be interrelationally. So and
they have normalized making people into sex objects.
Yes. Yeah.
What can you do? Yes.
And one of the things that I was thinking is we was talking about, Kris, you said something about agenda, and we see this narrative so strong, especially that I wanted to touch a couple things that people said, that you want to push your agenda of transgender to our kids, to the schools, to normalize it. And what do you guys think about that? And
no,
I mean, if you are who you are, and I'm thinking some people said, well, you keep it to yourself, Don't tell nobody. We don't need to know. And you don't need to teach it in school, like Erasmo was saying, in schools and stuff like that. I remember I was born, I'm a 60 child, and I remember my mom never, even to this day, she's embarrassed when I talk about sex with her. She never talked to me about sex. I had to figure it out myself,
Right.
And it's gonna be the same thing with the kids that are feeling the way they feel. You're gonna figure it out one way or another. So, to think that we are pushing agenda. I was thinking about Pete Buttigieg. Yes, and they was talking about him, and I'm thinking, is this a very logic thing about the other side, saying, well, don't teach it in school, don't push it to our kids, we don't want you to push your agenda to our kids? What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think maybe we need to stop teaching whitewashed American history as well. It's like the same thing. It's like everything in schools is so whitewashed, that the founding fathers were amazing, great people, but they owned slaves, and so it's kind of ridiculous. Like, I think if we're going to have this push to censor or ban certain topics in history, then I think we need to go back and revisit how American history is taught as well. We can't be whitewashing that either,
Absolutely not. And I don't think the term normalizing in the far right means something totally different than it does to me. To me, it's letting people know that you're not alone, the young kids, because I remember how alone I felt. And if you know that there are others like you, then you can, you have a sense of belonging. Everybody wants to belong. Mm-hmm. Sure, we all want to stand out in some ways, kind of like a peacock, but in our heart of hearts, we want to belong. We want to feel like no one's holding us at arm's length because they're afraid of us, or they think what we're doing is aberrant in any way, And there are aberrations, and we're not for aberrations, but truly loving, committed, I don't think affection should be legislated against.
Yeah, I mean,
between consenting adults, between consenting people who are fully rational and are making decisions based on their own best interests and those interests of the person there.
Yeah, it's always interesting when people seem so obsessed with what people do behind closed doors. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, I mean, do they want to watch or something? It's kind of weird.
And normally, these people that are obsessed with that is because they're struggling too they're struggling with their identity. You find out that these people that are pushing so strong against something is because they're struggling too.
Right. It's like, you want to come watch or something? I mean, are they going to have a police officer? They're trying to criminalize sodomy again or something. I think they're thinking about bringing that up to the Supreme Court. So what? They're going to have a cop outside of our bedroom doors, like making sure people aren't having anal sex or something. It's kind of bizarre. Like, we're in 2022. I think people need to start opening their minds a little more and maybe stop watching Fox News and all the crap they talk about.
I always want to say when they get to that point, it's like, why don't you tell me what you do behind closed doors so I can be offended too?
Right.
It's like it's none of your business as long as nobody's hurting anybody and you're both in agreement. I don't care.
I mean, a lot of red states are trying to ban drag queens or drag queen shows and stuff because of the children, and I'm just kind of like, you guys should be working on banning assault rifles and not focusing on drag queens.
Yes.
It's like their priorities are all wrong and twisted, and I think that's
it's cosplay.
Really
it's
stupid.
Fun. It's cosplay. They call it cosplay in
it's just
Star Trek
a show.
and Star Wars thing.
Right.
It's a costume.
Mm-hmm,
exactly. And I was reading about England that the transgender community there has a community where they have their own events and stuff. And I have spoke to people and know people that said that this this community is going to erase women, and also because now we have men that are competing in beauty pageants and the sport. There is a big controversial about transgender people. And I heard there was a story about that was in Mexico, that this girl died. She was boxing, and this other person was transgender, but they didn't disclose that he used to be a male and now he was a transgender woman. So he hit this girl, she fell and she died. At the end they find out that he, so the generics of it is a little bit also complex, and also we hear more and more that this community is going to erase woman, take away all that, So what do you guys think about that? And give me a little bit of.
I think that's just red herring talk. Women who embrace their femininity are legion. There are so many, so many. You're not going to erase anybody by adding someone else. Human rights aren't like a pie. You don't lose, when everybody should have them. Everybody should have the right to be who they are. It doesn't take away from anybody else. So, and in the sports thing, I can see it, but on the other hand, in a recent contest, a woman just won a contest against a transgender woman. So again, it just because you're transgender doesn't mean you're going to win every time.
And it's in a little bit of gray area. I wanted to read this about gender identity. It says right here, gender identity is how individuals perceive themselves and what they call themselves, and it can be the same as or different from their sex.
Correct.
Gender expression is external appearance of one's gender identity, usually conveyed through behavior, clothing, body characteristics, or voice, and may or not conform to socially defined behaviors and characteristics typically associated with being either masculine or feminine. Generally speaking, when an individual gender identity or gender expression does not match theirs, normally it doesn't match their sex, they are transgender. The whole thing, however, is nuanced. Gender is fluid and socially constructed, and it has biologically underpinnings, but how it is expressed is determined by the culture. It's natural and also uniquely human.
I'm not sure it's uniquely human. That's okay. We'll leave that as it is, as a maybe. I talked to a woman who, actually, one of my best friends was she put people in MRIs. She was an MRI technician. She said you'd be amazed at the number of men who have ovaries and the number of women who have cryptorchids, testicles and stuff inside. She says a lot of people are born intersex and changed at the time of birth without even telling the parents, because they don't want to throw the parents into a tizzy saying you have a boy, girl. We don't know what it is, but we're going to make something so that you can raise it as a boy or a girl, usually a girl. So we're dealing with a whole spectrum of people. Those are called intersex, people who have have ambiguous genitalia. People who don't even know that, and they might say, my gosh, I feel an awful lot like. There are a lot of people who they call themselves queer or questioning, because sometimes they feel male and sometimes they feel female. They may be intersex and not know it. There are just all of these things that I'm trying to sit here and say, we should be loving everybody right where they are, no matter who they are or where they are, as long as they're not hurting anybody else. And that's what I want to do. I just want to get everything as normalized as being cisgender, which means feeling comfortable in your own body, or heterosexual. It's not wrong. It's just different for everybody. And I just want to get out of the bed sheets, because it seems like everybody's focused on what goes on between the sheets, and I want to focus on the 98% of it that doesn't happen between the sheets, that happens with the loving, committed relationships and the fun you had, and the fact you grow old together and you take care of each other, and we should have the same rights as you should have the right to get married and to share the rights of married people and stuff like that. So that's where I'm coming from. I just want to make it not scary. It's not scary.
And I think even people that live LGBT and transgender always existed and lived together. You know, I was reading something about two men living together in the 1930s or 1920s. It was not usual to see two men. For two women, it was okay. You know, there was no kind of suspicion about it.
It was kind of Uncle Simon.
But having two men living together as roommate or whatever, it sounds suspicious. And one of the things that I was thinking, as human being, what more and more I think of human being, I just want to be seen and heard. And a lot of times what we do as human being, the Bible says that God created us in his own image. And what we are doing more and more is creating an image of God conform to us. You know, it is conform to us. So what happens with that? That we start categorizing people and putting people in little boxes, and according to where you fit in, you are not valued, you are dismissed, you are not seen. There is there is a spectrum, and they have the culture. I'm gonna say white male. They are the ones that determine and put everybody and define everybody in these boxes. And one of the tools that they use is the Bible and God. And God is sitting up there saying, I have nothing to do with this. Absolutely nothing, you know.
There are no white people in the Bible at all.
Right.
Jesus wasn't white. One of the absolute best quotes or memes I ever saw was, you've created God in your own image when he hates the same people you do.
Right.
Yes.
Because according to what I know about God, he is a God of love.
Yes.
And he created us all, and he loves us all. He cherishes us all, and that's what we should be doing for each other. We should be loving and cherishing each other. And, you can always say, let God sort it out later if somebody's messing up. But it's not our job to judge anybody. It's our job to love each other and support and cherish each other.
You want to be seen, and you want to be heard.
People want to be celebrated.
Yes.
People want to be celebrated, not tolerated. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which is big on human rights, had a course that they used to teach in schools called Teaching Tolerance, and there was so much backlash at the name. It said, don't teach tolerance. Tolerance means you have to put up with something you don't like. Mm-hmm. Teach celebration. Teach celebrating differences. Because we are glorious human beings with lots of different cultures and lots of different insights and lots of different wisdom that we can share. And as soon as we start putting each other in silos and saying, well, that bunch doesn't matter, that bunch doesn't matter, that bunch doesn't matter, we are cutting ourselves off from incredible insights and understanding really what the human condition is. My life hasn't been like your life. My life hasn't been like Erasmo's life. But what can we learn from each other as a result of that? If we're not afraid, don't be afraid to talk to people who aren't like you.
And just looking at this panel, I call it panel, but just looking at this right here, it's just beautiful to see the diversity, and that at the end of the day, we are connected, and I, as I'm getting older, I am loving more and more nature. That's why I love this state. And I like Washington State because I can drive right now 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and find a place with water, natural water, seawater and stuff like that. And I do that a lot now more. And I was thinking how it is that everything carbitates, ¿cómo se dice? Existe, carbitates with each other harmoniously. You know, I know my English in certain words, but and I'm looking at the trees and the birds and the bugs and the water, how everything just flows and lives together. And for some reason, we as human beings are not able to do that. You know, I'm like, this is crazy. I would sit and see the trees and see the birds and water. And the other day I went somewhere and they had sea lions and stuff. And I was like, why it is that we as human beings cannot just learn how to do. God give us a mirror of nature, you know.
People have used the Bible for good and for ill, and one of the terms in the Bible is dominion. And a lot of people take that as domination. In other words, you are in control of that. You make anything happen you want to happen, because whatever you're thinking, God must be thinking too. You can tear down all the trees. You can pollute the water. You can do whatever you need to do to make your bucks. Dominion actually means stewardship, wise stewardship in the Bible. It's like, this is your garden. You need to take care of it, because it can't support you if you don't take care of it. And so we have this dichotomy of people saying, well, this is what God says about our domination of the planet, and the other thing, this is what God says about our stewardship of the planet.
And I think we absolutely need all of this in order to live. And
we can't survive. There is no.
I need you, Kris, like I need Erasmo. I think there is a perfect timing when you meet with somebody, when you cross with somebody, when you in the same age and you in the same time universe. I don't know how to say it. You know, there is something about we having to work together. And that's why you hear now. That's why you hear in this moment in time. Because you have a mission, like I have a mission. But in order for us to fulfill that mission, we need each other.
Absolutely. In a lot of faith traditions, or if you just want to call them spirituality traditions, there's the idea that we are all one. In other words, from the Big Bang Theory, they say whenever the Big Bang happened, it was this one universal, unique explosion, and it sent out this vibrational pattern which has never gone away, and we all share some of it. In other words, we share each other's star dust. We come from the stars, we return to the stars. You know, our essences were created in this thermonuclear blast that united us all. And that's why it is so easy when you stop being afraid of other people. That's why it's so easy to make connections, because we are from the same stardust, you know. And I love looking at it that way.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
I don't want people feeling like they aren't beloved. Anybody, even people who make really, really bad mistakes and horrible policy plans and everything else. I think if they weren't as damaged as they were, they wouldn't be making those policy decisions. They are afraid. They seem to think we need to keep this all for us. Or God forbid, that people of color should actually become the majority, because they might start treating us the way we've been treating them for 400 years.
Yes,
Right. I actually heard this conspiracy. I mean, I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, but that they overturned Roe v. Wade so that like Latinos wouldn't be the majority in like 2040 or something, because a lot of Caucasian people are not having children at the same rate as people of color, and so I don't know. That's just a random conspiracy, but I don't know.
And the Spanish community is in 2030 is going to be majority that we already are.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think,
and I just love Hispanic. I've been in Mexico. I've talked to Hispanic people. I adore Hispanic people because I don't know, their culture is just so kind and family oriented
Yes.
and decent and lovely. And I'm thinking, I'm not scared. Let's bring it on. I am ready. I'm ready for women leaders. I'm ready for Latino leaders. I'm ready. I'm ready for a change because what we've been doing is obviously not working.
and one of the kryptonites of human being is that exactly what fear. Fear is
It's
like
fear.
the worst thing. The worst thing is the worst thing that when you are shackled with fear of other people, of what other people, instead of thinking the way I was saying before, that I had a friend, he's from Cuba, and he, every time somebody comes into his life, he will say, I love it when he told me that. He said, okay, God, what it is you want me to do and how I'm going to help this person. Normally you asking, what is this person going to do for me? But he was always said, I know this person is in my life with a purpose. I know I have to do something, impact that person. And the way I see it is like when I was born, I was in this train, and there is going to be people in and out. But as like I said, I was in the church, and I was from black to white to black. And as I go getting older, God is showing me, he said, no, the world that you live is not black and white. The world that you live, and there's nothing wrong. I tell people there's nothing wrong with love. I think there is people more ashamed and afraid of their kids being gay or transgender than a crook or somebody's killing or stealing or doing something. Oh, that is okay, but God forbid, that my son or my daughter love the same. I said, there's nothing. You might not get it, you might not understand it, and you don't have to, but for me to tell my child or anybody in my family that no, this is not, no, to love is like the greatest thing that you can feel. We was created to receive love and to love. So love, whether I get it or I don't get it, it's not for me to say. Love is always good,
Yeah, we should be legislating against hate and division and the things that make us feel like we don't all belong.
But a lot of people profit doing that. A lot of people get wealthy keeping people divided.
The fear mongering.
Yes.
That's what raises money from the donors, and from the people.
Yeah.
So I think people need
Here's
to
the thing.
create fear.
In our brains, there's something called the amygdala, and it's the little part of our brain we call it the reptile brain. It's the thing that is always looking for danger. If someone gives you 10 compliments or tells you 10 good things about yourselves and then one bad thing about yourself, the one thing you really focus on is the one bad thing about yourself. Okay? So our brains are constantly on the lookout for, could that hurt me? Could that hurt me? Could that hurt me? And these people who are preying on your false evidence appearing real, fear, false evidence appearing real, people who are preying on your fear are ringing that amygdala just like it was a musical instrument. And you have to say to your amygdala, is that true? You have to stop. You have to stop and say, maybe, oh my God, maybe black people aren't bad. Maybe I need to meet some black people. Maybe Hispanic people aren't bad. Maybe I need to meet some Hispanic people. How many people in your immediate group of what you want to call bosom buddies are of a different culture, color, or nationality from yours? If you don't have that going on for you, you are afraid because they're all out there. Go get some.
Yes.
Right, and I actually
You know?
did research. I did some research on this for my master's about how diversity is so important in the workplace and in society and at schools, because through diversity, people, people engage with people that are different than themselves, and then that's how they deconstruct the stereotypes that they have against certain people, right? So sometimes I feel like people that are anti-gay or anti-LGBTQI plus, I think those people just have never really met people that are gay, or LGBTQI plus. So I think that if they talk to people that are of our community, then that would deconstruct the stereotypes that they have, and then they might realize, oh, these people are just like me. They're normal and they have the same goals and aspirations in life. And I think some of these people just need to be around more people that are different than them. They're kind of in
And if you want to find them, join PFLAG flag. Parents of Friends of Lesbians and Gays. Join any of the groups. There's a Rainbow Center down in downtown Tacoma where you can go and say, look, I'm brand new. I'm a newbie. I know nothing about you guys. I want to know more about you guys. Go look for them. They're there. They're groups. Parents of Friends of Lesbians and Gays. There's number of
one of the things that I love from Washington State too is that we are, I want to say there is those little pockets of racism and people that are really, we go to the rural areas, but we are pretty much progressive. Seattle is probably a big community of the LGBT community. So that is one of the things that I love here in the state too. The other thing I was thinking is about what Erasmo was saying. Narrative is very important. Media is very important. And who writes and tells the story is super important. So whosoever, like right now, I know Erasmo was talking about a banning books and stuff. So whosoever have control of the narrative and whosoever have tell the story always gonna make themselves. I tell my son this all the time. You have to create your own story because you are the one that can tell your story best than anybody else. But we have people that create it. And I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna write a book about an Afro-Latina woman that is, I don't know, I can say that is badass. Kris, your badass is okay.
You can say that.
Did they beep it out? It's like beep.
So yes, I will create a book that I'm a superwoman and I'm the star and I'm the savior of the world. It's the same thing with the special white men. They created a world where a narrative where they look like Jesus. They are the supremacy of whatever, and everybody is trying to strive and get to that point. But narrative is so important. And one of the things as being Afro-Latina here in this country, when I come in, I was in my 20s and stuff like that. I don't know why. I was talking, there is a class running, I think the last class was yesterday, a Spanish class right here in the studio and the first floor Spanish class. So you guys, Laura, I don't know if she's going to have it in August, but we were talking about that. We were talking about Americans feel like they don't need to learn a second language, and second language also open you a window of this other world, different worlds. If we had like from kindergarten, we have they included 4 language, basic language, Spanish, Russian, I don't know, Arabic, Mandarin, and have that follow your kids till then you open in windows of culture. You open in windows of different people, how they live, what they eat, what they love, how they communicate, how they connect culturally. But we here in the United States, this is like United States is the center of the universe and everybody has to revolve around it. And we don't need a second language. We don't need to teach your kids that. And I think we do a disservice again to your kids when we don't open the diversity, to see that it's okay. People are different. Is and it should. I don't like to use that word. It's okay, because it's also asking permission to be. I am who I am, whether you okay with it or not. I'm here, and you gonna is and I. The problem is not me. It's you that not okay with it.
The lesson is not for you.
Yes, yes.
In Europe, most children know 3 or 4 languages. They're taught them universally from the time they're tiny.
Mm-hmm. Or they go to bilingual schools. I used to work at a bilingual school, so they would go to school and learn English all day, and they were not allowed to speak Spanish. So it was a bilingual immersion school, and it's free. It's taxpayer funded, and so there's a lot of them all over Spain. And kids can go from the time they're in preschool up to kindergarten and be exposed to English and learn it. So.
And when I was in school, which was many moons ago, I wasn't even exposed to the ability to learn a language until I was in junior high. And you can actually learn it better when you're much, much younger.
Yes.
Your brain is much more valuable.
Yes.
But I love Spanish. I absolutely love Spanish. I'm not fluent in it, but I keep, I get on Duolingo every so often and try to see where I'm at. And they say, well, you're up at about the 6th or 7th grade level, which means I could get around. If I'm, if I get lost, I can get found.
Qué bueno. Qué bueno, Kris.
And also, when I was at Warner Brothers, when I was working at Warner Brothers as an executive secretary, one of the custodians there was from Mexico. And he was learning English and I was learning Spanish, and we would get together during our lunch times, and he brought me a syllabario, the elementary syllabario, and this was 20 years, 25, maybe 30 years after I'd learned Spanish, and I would try, and we would laugh because we'd mess it up between the two of us, and it's okay because you're both learning. And but then he said to me, he said, Kris, I can absolutely understand everything you say. Some of your tenses are off, but I can understand what you're saying. That's really all that matters. And, and I was like, whoa, that's cool. Because I remember when I was learning Spanish, I started to dream in Spanish. Like I was lost in Mexico. And another thing was, when I got to Mexico, after learning Spanish, I could understand the kids 2 and 3 and under, because they were just learning it. I mean, they were fluent in it, but they were speaking more slowly. And the older we get and the better we get at something, the quicker we talk. And so the adults would be speaking Spanish so fast I couldn't figure out where one word ended and another one began. Mm-hmm. And I would like, más tarde, slow down. Because I knew I could understand the little ones, but I couldn't understand the older ones.
So
yeah.
So one of the things that I was thinking, when we open that window of diversity in language, then you actually almost prepare that person, that little human being, to be open and to
open-minded.
Yes. And
yes.
And that is you want to dress like, I had a friend that her son is older now. He used to dress himself up. He was like 4 or 5. He put on cowboy boots in the summertime, put on a lot of clothes, put the cowboy boots in the wrong feet. And she said, I can't get him to not dress like that. And they will be all over the mall and the super. Mind you. And I remember. And I think, when you start opening kids' mind to said not to look at this kid and say, well, he is different and he is strange because he's dressing the way he is dressing. So we need to start, and I don't know if conditioning is a really good word. Maybe not. It's not a good word. But just teaching our kids to open up, and to learn and to love and to unconditionally. I don't care the color of your skin. I don't care your gender. I don't care you tall, you big. I don't care, because you are here with a purpose and a reason, just the way you are. And we start throwing that narrative to a kid and teaching our kids that we're gonna live in a better world. But I wanted to talk a little bit about these other countries that are very hard on the gay and trans community, and it's been very hard in certain parts of Africa because of being colonized by the religious people that now a lot of places in Africa, Middle East and stuff, gay people and transgender people die. We cannot even go far. We can right here in certain parts of the United States is violence against transgenders. We go to the South, in New York. So you guys want to talk a little bit of that and how religion is become a big force and tool, not just to keep people in islands, but also to actually have this thing that we need to get rid of these people. You know, we need to, is we find out that you are this way, we are gonna get rid of you. We're gonna kill you. We're gonna get away. And the government in some of these countries are okay with this too.
And so are some of our officials in our government.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go there, I want to encourage all of you to watch a movie called Burn Your Maps.
Burn Your Maps.
And it's about a little boy who learns a little bit about Mongolian people and starts dressing, just like you said, like a little Mongolian. They cannot talk him out of it. They try to throw him out of school. He will not do it. His mother and somebody else decides, let's take him to Mongolia.
Oh.
And this kid literally, I don't want to say any more about this movie.
I gotta watch it now.
A lot of times what you are experiencing may be a past life experience. You feel particularly drawn to Ireland or drawn to something. There might be something in your DNA that is telling you your relatives came from there.
Mm-hmm.
And this little boy, apparently he had in his DNA this compulsion about Mongolia, and he just couldn't get it out of his head. And it's a wonderful, wonderful movie. I encourage you to read it. I mean, to see it. It's available, I think, on Vudu and several places now for free. It's called Burn Your Maps. But the thing about the Bible, and you have to remember in the Old Testament, God said, utterly destroy your enemy. Utterly destroy your enemy. And then we have the New Testament saying, you know, you are now living in the days of grace. Turn the other cheek. Love your neighbor. Whatever. So it really depends on whether you believe in an authoritarian God, in a destroyer of not like us, which I can't imagine God making anything not like him.
No.
Okay? Or you live in the days of grace where did Jesus do anything at all? If that isn't part of our hearts now, he did nothing at all. Not for us. Because he was telling us, turn the other cheek, the woman caught in sin, don't, go and sin no more. I mean, he was giving everybody grace, unmerited favor. And so it really depends on what and I think an awful lot of far right people are authoritarian Bible thumpers. Mm-hmm. God said this, and by God, when you didn't pay attention, they turned him in a pillar of salt. He said, go out and utterly destroy. And because we didn't utterly destroy, we have the Middle East fighting each other all the time. So they all have so-called rationales and reasons for why their version of the Bible is the right version. The only version of the Bible that is going to save us as a planet and a species is the one of love.
Yes.
Because we have way too many ways to kill each other now. Way too many ways.
Yes.
And if we're going to survive, we need to do the love thing.
Yeah,
we certainly haven't tried it very much, so let's try it and see how that works. Give peace. All we were saying is give peace.
Yeah.
Give love a chance.
We have these states, and we also have these countries that is just crazy. But
remember, those are top government policies. The people themselves, just like us, probably don't agree with all of them. just because a government is saying this is wrong doesn't mean all of the people in that country believe the same thing.
Right. And I feel like as a country, we're sort of heading to a theocracy type government, you know, with the Supreme Court, you know, and that's how it is in the Middle East, you know, with the Quran and everything, you know, it's a theocratic government. And so I'm fearful that we're sort of moving in the direction. I mean,
I'm very fearful of that.
People can have their beliefs and religion or whatnot, but we need to keep that out of the government, and we don't need to be legislating and supporting legislation because of, you know, religion. I think that needs to be completely separate, but I feel like we're sort of moving in that direction.
And using the Bible and God to justify violence against other people just because their gender or the way they look or the color of the skin. It's just crazy to me to even think. And not just only to do that, but to take it to other regions of the world and said, you know, you have to. This is the God that we serve. It is concerning right here in the United States, but it's happening around the world where this community is targeted violently.
You have to remember the KKK was a Christian organization. So-called small c, you know, we are Christians and this is what, you know, it's like, this is nuts. This is Christ.
Yes.
Those are antichrists. Those are not Christs.
I mean, I feel like if churches want to legislate, then they should be paying taxes. Or,
yes,
you know, they
absolutely.
Can't go both ways. You can't be tax exempt. Yeah.
But even if they're paying taxes, they should not be doing that because again, we have a separation of church and state for a reason. Because Europe bloodied itself for eons because of their religious differences. Just hang on to your religion all you want to, and just it's not mine. So just you know, do what you want to do. Don't tell others that they have to do what you think your God is telling you.
And the thing that I was thinking when Erasmo said it, that you can have it both ways. You can have it that you don't pay taxes and you can pick and choose what you think. The government can tell you what to do as a church, but you want to impose your religious belief to the rest of the country. So you can have it both ways. You know, one of the things that I like about this country, and I always tell people this as an Afro-Latina woman, that when it comes to civil rights and to human rights, we don't sit, we fight. And that is one of the things I think the United States, and especially the Black community, is being a pioneer of fighting for rights. And then the rest of the world, with technology, we're looking more and more that the world is mirroring and seeing, and these communities are coming out and saying no. Now, in some areas here in the United States, we're going backwards because I think Mexico, I think Argentina and España, they went ahead and take the ban of abortion off, while we are going towards that we're going backwards. But I don't think we're gonna stay like that. I think one thing that we are, and I say we are part of this country, that we don't sit, and hopefully we don't do that, sit out, because I tell people, if you sit on the fence and look and say, well, that has nothing to do with me, I'm not gay, I'm not trans, I'm not Black, I'm not a woman, I'm not this, the next time this happens, it's gonna be you. They're gonna find something and it's gonna be you. So we have to again come collectively and fight for that other person's rights, because next is gonna be you.
Just like Erasmo said, the only thing Donald Trump did for us, in quotes for us, and certainly against his own best wishes, was to wake us up, make us realize how close we are to losing the ideals that America still has not achieved, but is wanting to achieve, and that's equality for all, and love instead of hate, and no more silos, and we're all in this together. He gave permission to the people who used to hide under hoods to stand tall and proud.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to us. The only thing it takes for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened in Germany, and it can happen here if we don't stand up and say, no, not on my watch. It happens every generation. Every generation has something like this. But we are truly at a crossroads.
Yeah, and
where
we are.
Can lose it this time. We can lose it this time.
And you know, I'm going back to what I said. Me, you, Erasmo, everybody that is in this time and point of history of living this time of age is because we here with a mission. You know, we here with a mission, and we have to be clearly find out what that is. You know,
right.
What is my contribution? I was thinking the other day, if I leave, that I'm going to one day because everybody's going to die.
Yes.
I want to say somebody, at least one person, is I said or did something for one person that impact and change their life. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel good. You know, it's I can just I smile or something, and then I'm say, okay, I'm good. So we here to connect. We here to work together to make this better. So I'm thinking, you know, if you sitting on that fence and thinking it has nothing to do with you, next time it's gonna be you.
Yeah.
You know,
it's already you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I think that, I think people should be scared if they're not a rich, white, landowning male. You know what I mean? Because that's how this country was founded, by rich, landowning white men. So if you're not one of those now, then you should be scared that they're going to take your rights away.
And your amygdala is there. Your fear center is there for a reason. And this one, it should be ringing real loud. Because if we don't do something about it now, it's going to get beyond our ability to do anything about it. That's why I say put in your ballots for Tuesday. Do not delay. 13% of a turnout is pathetic. We need to be. I don't
think people think of local elections. As I get and I read and I get more and more involved, I'm looking at these other different states, like Texas. In the summer, what happened? And they're still struggling with this power grip thing. And I'm thinking of Michigan, Flint, Michigan, with the water, that people are still suffering and cancer and seizures and all these different things because of the water. We're thinking of the air, especially in urban areas around the world, not around the world, around the country. That when you cut those trees and summer comes, what happened? You're living in a desert city or community, and it's getting hotter and hotter. So it's people don't think that voting, I think personally that voting locally is even more important than voting nationally, because I think that it affects me directly. So it is. And it is important to become part of this process, because then you can't sit and say, well, you know, I don't like this and I don't like that, if you're not involved in the process.
Just like that meme says, think globally, act locally.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do locally to affect the global situation? Because if you can't get it done in your own hometown with the clout that you have by showing up and standing up, and you know, we've lost it. It's lost. So you need to get up and stand up and do what you need to do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of young people also need to get out and vote. I think they've been voting more, you know, younger people, but I think that, you know, if someone is 17, they should be registering to vote when they turn 18. You know, kind of get the ball rolling early, because you can do that. I think I've been trying to encourage my niece. She just turned 18 a few months ago, and I keep texting her, have you registered to vote? Are you registered? And I haven't heard back from her. So hopefully, you know, I did tell her that if she doesn't vote and things happen that she doesn't like, then she can't complain, you know, because she didn't vote. So yeah, I think
some states, some states automatically register you at 18.
Oh, wow.
I wish ours did.
Right.
That said, my gosh, if they're not interested in, you know, what would an uninterested voting population look like?
Well,
but I think if they say, okay, you are now registered to vote, maybe they would go, hey, you know what, I do have some clout here now. I can't, it's not no longer just my opinion. I can actually affect changes. I think it would wake up enough people to have them go, okay, I can start paying attention.
And I'm thinking my son, you know, he is the solution with the Democratic Party. You know, he caucused for Bernie Sanders. He did, help with Bernie Sanders. And when the Democratic Party choose Hillary Clinton, he didn't even want to vote. And we me and my ex kind of push him. No, you gotta vote. You gotta. You know, so we as our kids are smarter today.
Yeah.
They a lot smarter today. And they're not gonna take all the stuff that the politicians throw. I was listening yesterday to an ad saying that Bernie Sanders is a socialist. I said, you can't scare the older people with that. But the younger kids, they know better than that.
He's a democratic socialist, like Europe, you know, where you actually get paid health care and education for free, and basically your taxes go to support the people instead of the military-industrial complex.
And the thing with communism and socialism and include capitalism, all of this is basically good ideas. It's just not performed by the people that do it. It's not doing the right thing. But even capitalism, to me, is just crazy. It is crazy that as I own a business and I used to sell this microphone for $20, tomorrow I can just get up and say, you know what, I'm gonna do this for $200, and there's no rules, you know. So capitalism is not even better than socialism. It depends on who. But we do have 3 minutes. Kris, just tell me the time.
3 minutes?
The timekeeper here.
Okay.
So I wanted Erasmo, for you to tell people, what would you tell people about your community and how to embrace your community, and how do you feel that we need to change more openness so people can I don't want to say allow, because you are who you are and that's it. You know, the problem is not you, it's the people that don't want you, right? So we can finish real quick this show.
Christian I encourage people to go out and meet people that are LGBTQ+I and just get involved with the community. You know, we're not as horrible as the media wants to make it sound like we are, at least the conservative media. You know, we're just normal human beings, just like everyone else. And, you know, we don't really have an agenda except just to be loved and accepted and not be fearful for our lives because people don't like us. So yeah, just go out and meet other people that are from our community and, you know, keep an open mind. And I think that'll deconstruct the stereotypes that people might have about us, you know, meeting other people like us.
Kris, come on. Tell me what it is, what message will you believe people in this beautiful morning when it comes to transgender and gender?
I would echo just what Erasmo said, and I think the only difference is when it comes to transgender, that isn't a sexual orientation, that's a gender orientation. Mm-hmm. And the difference between the two is a sexual orientation is who you want to go to bed with. Gender orientation is who you want to go to bed as. Okay, so gender orientation, you can be gay, straight, lesbian, bigender, asexual. You can be anything along that spectrum because it isn't a sexual orientation, but it's strictly a gender. It's the fact that I was born feeling that I'm in the wrong make and model body, mm-hmm. and you have no more right to tell me I'm wrong than I have to tell you how you feel about your own body, if you feel completely comfortable. And I can also understand, I believe, why so many people can't quite get there and understand that, because unless you're transgender, how could you understand that?
But you don't have to, and that's the thing.
You don't have to.
You
just
don't have to.
accept it.
You don't.
Right.
I don't have
Right.
to get it. I don't have to. So. But I wanted to finish the show just telling people that yes, love is love, and that sounds cliche, but for me, loving somebody same sex, you might not get it, you might get it. Love should be always good. To love, it should always be a good feeling. It should always make you happy and feel like you on top of the world, because you love. We was created
And
to
you are
love.
loved, because you love and you are loved.
Yes,
That's
you
the other
was
thing.
created.
We want to feel loved not just by the
Yes,
person
we was
who
created.
loves us. We want to be loved by everybody, because it's not, I don't know
Yes.
everybody, but we want to be loved by loving people.
Yes. So
Yeah.
we're gonna finish the show, Siembra. Thank you, Erasmo, and thank you, Kris, for
Thank you.
opening and giving a little bit more clarity. And thank you. You guys have a beautiful day. Enjoy the weather here in Washington State, and bye-bye.
Let's all get together. We're local.
Yes.
We're local. Let's
Yeah.
all get
Yes.
Yeah, let's be
Let's
in
do it.
touch.
Yes.
All
Okay.
right, bye everyone.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Adios.
Adios.